Welcome back to Dueker Sports. I'm your co-host Christian Lunday, and across from me on the other side of the screen, he watches 14 billion hours of game film. He has all 22 film back from the 1500s. It's Dylan Dueker. What's up, Dylan?
Oh, not much. Just spending a lot of time these days watching that combine. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How many hours did you spend today watching the combine?
Today, I think I put in about 4 today, and then I put in 7 yesterday, but I've still got 12 more hours to go.
Dang. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the top combine performances this year. Do you want me to go first? You want to go first?
I'll take it if you don't mind.
Sweet.
Okay, so our what we were looking for, I think, were two different things. We were talking before the show. So with me, I'm watching the combine. I'm just giving props in this video to the best performances. So the guys who showed up and took over the combine by being tremendous athletes. So I'm not saying these guys are the best players at the position. We'll get to that on a later day. But these guys had the best athletic performances at the combine. So I'm going to go position by position. I'm going to give you my top three.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so we're going to start at quarterback. Now, this is going to be a little surprising because I don't have any quarterbacks. Because, quite frankly, I think this is a weak quarterback class. Not a lot of great athletes. Desmond Ritter is the most athletic quarterback from Cincinnati, but a lot of people are comparing him to Marcus Mariota. I don't think he's as athletic, and I don't think he's as good of a quarterback. I am going to give one shout out here to Carson Strong. He's a quarterback from Nevada. If you watch the combine, I'm not saying he's the best athlete. He's actually not a great athlete, but he has a great arm and was throwing the deep ball and getting some cheers. So that's my only shout out for quarterbacks. And then I'm just going to get to another position group that I'm not going to include really, which is tight ends. So tight ends, this is not a great class if you're a tight end ED team. So you're going to have to wait a year. I'll give a couple of shout outs here. Jelani Woods from Virginia, not the most athletic, but he is 6'7", 6'8", and he is a pretty good athlete. And he's from Virginia, yeah. And that's my guy. If I'm going to take a tight end, that's the guy I'm going to roll the dice on in the later rounds. I'm not going to waste a high draft pick. Then Chig Okonkwo, or something, I don't know how you say his name, but he's from Maryland. He is the most athletic, but I don't think he's worth drafting. Okay. With that behind us, let's get to the guys who did make the cut. We're going to start with one of the most athletic groups in NFL history. The wide receiver group from this year's combine was insane. I've never seen so many guys run fast. They had 9 guys run sub 4.4 40 times.
Yeah, that's
That's
insane.
incredible. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was trying to jot down like a few notes on who was having a great day, and I'm like, everyone had a great day running. So I'm going to do an honorable mention here. I'll only have 2 of those throughout the list, but I'm going to do the Baylor wide receiver, Tyquantin Thornton. He ran a 4.28 40 time, which was, when he did that, was the fastest combine of the year, or the fastest 40 of the year so far. But a couple DBs would have something to say about that later.
Yep.
But just because he ran a 4.28, he deserves to be mentioned. That's pretty phenomenal. And then my number 3 at wide receiver is Christian Watson. He's a wide receiver from North Dakota State, and he ran a 4.36, which is phenomenal. He is 6'4", running a 4.36. That's insane. And he posted an 38.5-inch vertical and 11'4" broad jump. And you're going to hear me mention broad jump a lot because I think broad jump is the best way to me to measure explosiveness. That shows how strong their legs are, how powerful they are, even more so than verticals, I think. So you look at this guy, 6'4", lightning fast, and amazing strength in his lower body. My number 2 wide receiver is Isaiah Weston from Northern Iowa. He ran a 4.42. He had an 11'3" broad jump and a 40-inch vert. So another rock star there. And then my number 1 is Calvin Austin III. This guy tore up every event at the combine. He had the third fastest 40 time at 4.32. He had the second longest broad jump at 11'3", and he had a 39-inch vertical. So he's only 5'8" coming out of Memphis, but he is a physical freak.
A short guy's gotta perform.
Maybe I put him in there just for you. All right, so there's my wide receivers. I'm gonna go hop on over to running backs. And my number 3 running back, this guy is a stud. He has a 99 draft score rating, which I think they said was only the third or fourth time in history a running back has had that. It's Brees Hall coming from Iowa State. The dude ran a 4.39 40, and he had 10-foot 6-inch broad jump. This guy's a first round draft pick all day long. He is a monster. I would love to have him on my team. My number 2 is Zamir White from Georgia, another stud running back. He might go to the second round. He ran a 4.4 flat and had a 10-foot 8-inch broad jump, which was number 1 amongst running backs. And then my number 1 most athletic running back, best performance of the combine, was Pierre Strong. He had the fastest 40 time for a running back at 4.37, and he had a 10-foot 4-inch broad jump. So broad jump for running backs, I think, is more important than anyone else. You need to be an explosive runner, obviously, at the halfback position. And now we're going to shoot on over to offensive linemen. A lot of people don't like watching the linemen perform at the combine. I think that's my favorite group to watch, I'll be honest. I love these big guys, 300 pounds, they're athletes. We forget how athletic they are. Evan Neal didn't work out the combine, but they took photos of him and they're talking about how lean he looks. These guys are athletes. So my second honorable mention of this show is Trevor Penning. So Penning has definitely earned a name for himself going through the Senior Bowl and the Combine as being nasty. He's trying to fight with everyone out there. They made a good remark during the Combine that said he's not making friends, but he is making money. So he deserves a shout out here. He ran a very fast 40, and he is just so physical. My number 3 is Charles Cross, offensive tackle from Mississippi State. He looks so smooth in every single thing he did at the combine. Like every drill, he just looked amazing. He has a 91 draft score rating for a reason. The guy's going to be a stud. My number 2 is Bernard Raymond. So I'm going to be honest, I didn't know much about this guy, but every drill I was putting a star next to his name because he was just lighting it up all day. So he had an amazing 10-yard split, and he had 30 bench reps, which was the third best. And my number 1, and Rich Eisen said this guy needs to get a PhD because his name is Cole Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Yep. So he's my number 1 lineman. He had the best performance at the combine by far. He had the fastest 40 time. He was, I think, second in bench reps with 31. He looked smooth in every single drill. He stayed low man wins on the line. He did it all day long. Nothing but good things to say about that guy. I would draft him all day long. And now we're going to hop to the other side of the ball. We're going to shoot for some defense here. And my defensive lineman. So pass rushers aplenty coming into this year's draft. If this is a great defensive draft, I think the offense is good, but the defense is great. So my first defensive player is going to be Sam Williams, defensive end out of Ole Miss. He ran a 4.46 as a defensive end. That is unbelievable. These guys are running fast for wide receivers, and they're playing on the line. And he also had a 10-foot 3-inch broad jump, which is, again, we're talking about linemen doing this. These are insane numbers. My number 2 is Kayvon Thibodeau, the man out of Oregon. A lot of people know this guy. He's been getting mentioned for several years now as a guy who's going to go in the first round. And I think he cemented that at the combine. The guy is a monster. So he weighs 260 pounds. He's out there running, I think, 4.58, which is a good time for a wide receiver. And this guy's 260 running it. And he had the most bench reps amongst defensive ends at the combine with 27. So he's fast and he's strong. We already knew that by watching him on the film. Now we know it for sure. The numbers are in. My number one, this is wild. Amare Barno ran a 4.36 40 time. So he would have been one of the fastest wide receivers, but this guy's going to be screaming off the line, chasing your quarterback. I'm like,
Dear God.
Godspeed to any quarterback that's going to be running from this guy because you're not going to get away. So he ran a 4.36 at 246 pounds. He also had the best broad jump amongst defensive ends at 10 feet 11 inches, nearly an 11-foot broad jump. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's not even fair. He's not expected to get drafted very high. I expect him to go in the later rounds, but I'm like, why would you not take a flyer on a guy like this? He's got the physical ability. You just got to be able to coach him up, and this guy could be a difference maker. We're going to head over to defensive tackle. So I only have two guys at defensive tackle to talk about, and they're both from Georgia. Georgia and Baylor took over this combine. My number 2 is Devontae Wyatt from Georgia. The guy ran a 4.77, which was the fastest among defensive tackles. He also had the third best broad jump. He weighs 304 pounds. And just when you think that's ridiculous, my number 1 is Jordan Davis. And I don't think anyone did more for their draft stock at the combine than Jordan Davis. This guy is an absolute monster. If you're looking for the next best, next great defensive tackle, I'm going to Jordan Davis. He ran a 4.78. He also had a 10-foot 3-inch broad jump, which was number 1 among D tackles. He weighs 341 pounds. My gosh, that's insane. I'm like, I don't know. He reminds me of Aaron Donald, but he has the size. So Aaron Donald came out, he was playing small, and you see what he's done. Imagine Aaron Donald at 340 pounds. That's what I'm seeing from Jordan Davis. I don't know if he'll be quite that good, but he is a monster. I'd be drafting him. I'll be surprised if he gets out of the top 15. Heading back to the linebackers. So this was another super athletic group. I have another honorable mention here. Christian Harris from Alabama running a 4.44 as a linebacker, has an 11-foot broad jump, which was number 2. It's once again, I keep saying that it's insane because literally I'm watching these guys put in these performances, and I honestly couldn't believe it. Most athletic draft I've seen in a long time. My number 3 is Trey Anderson. So he had the fastest 40 amongst linebackers at 4.42. He also had a great broad jump. My number 2 is Leo Chenal, who ran a 4.53 and had a 10-foot 8 broad jump, but he had a 40.5-inch vertical as a linebacker. So good luck getting the ball over his head. And my number 1 best combine performance in linebackers is Channing Tindall, another Georgia guy. That defense, there must be something in the water in Georgia because they're all great.
That's
He ran
exactly what I was like, I need a drink of that water. That's like
Georgia
Michael's secret stuff.
Michael's secret, and it's in Athens, Georgia, and it's exclusively there this year. Apparently, he finished top 3 in every event that he participated in amongst linebackers. He ran a 4.47. He had 10-foot 9-inch broad jump and a 42-inch vertical. Outrageous. All right, and now we're going to head to probably the most athletic group in the entire combine this year is cornerbacks. The wide receivers started the weekend off right, and the defensive backs finished it out. I could name, honestly, I had like a list of 8 guys at one point, and I'm just cutting off all these superb athletes because I'm like, we don't have time for all of these guys, but so many great athletes. My number 3 is Zion McCollum. He's from Sam Houston State. He ran a 4.33 and he had a 39.5-inch vertical. My number 2 is Kalon Barnes from Baylor. He ran a 4.23 40 time, which is the second fastest of anybody in NFL history. So he's definitely getting on the list. My number 1, so he ran a 4.26, which puts him top 5 all time is Tariq Woolen. What puts him ahead of Kalon Barnes for me though is that Woolen also had a 42-inch vertical, which was number one. So you have the top five fastest player of all time at the combine, and he's putting up a 42-inch vertical. He again, this is a guy that's probably going to go in the late third round, maybe, but definitely did a lot to improve his stock in this combine. And then my final position group is safety. My number three is Lewis. I believe it's another Georgia guy. I think it's Cine is his last name, Cine. He ran a 4.37 and he had an 11-foot 1-inch broad jump, which was number one among safeties. My number two is JT Woods from Baylor. He ran a 4.36. He had a 39.5-inch vertical and a 10-foot 8 broad jump. So he lit it up. And my number one and my last player is Nick Cross from Maryland. He had the fastest 40 time at 4.34 among safeties, and he had a 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump. He is a late round draft pick guy as well, but again, superb athlete. And I think he's going to draw a lot of attention now because of his performance.
Wow. Pretty extensive list. Good lord, there's so many athletes on the defensive side of the ball. Like, if I'm quarterbacks this year, I'm peeing my pants because I do not want to see any of these big linemen coming after me. Um, but yeah, so that's a great list. Top players in each position for the combine as far as their workouts were concerned. I thought about it a little bit differently. My thought process was who improved their draft stock probably the most, in my opinion, and on top of having incredible workouts. So my honorable mention goes to two wide receivers. One of them being Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. This guy, if you watch the tape, this dude's one of my favorite players. He catches the ball almost anywhere. He runs great routes. He gets behind defenses. He runs intermediate. He's tough. But his combine was, people had some questions. He's from a smaller school. This guy came out here at 5'10, 195 pounds, ran a 4.41, 34.5-inch vertical, and 10-foot 5-inch broad jump. He didn't drop a single ball in his workouts, and he ran. I think it was James Jones who said he ran the best routes at the combine out of all the wide receivers this year. So I thought he improved his draft stock the most. And then my other honorable mention goes to the little man, Calvin Austin the third. This guy is basically the wide receiver version of Darren Sproles, in my opinion. He finished third in 40-yard dash, third in vertical. Short guys have a hard time jumping. This dude jumped 39 inches in the air. An 11-foot 3-inch broad jump. Are you joking? He also had first in the 3-cone drill and first in the 20-yard shuttle. Those times are like indicative of short area quickness, which is important when you're running routes. Incredible performance, especially
So
from a little guy. Yeah.
I love what you're saying because first of all, I also said Darren Sproles. I called my brother. I was talking to him. I'm like, this guy reminds me of Darren Sproles, but he's even more athletic. So I
Yeah.
think it's awesome you said
Darren
that.
Darren was a lot thicker, but this guy is probably faster and probably more agile, which is crazy because Darren was all of those things. But this guy, something that also impressed me the most, besides having bigger hands than Kenny Pickett, was that he catches with his hands. He doesn't catch with his body. You'll see smaller guys like Isabella for the Cardinals. He Andy Isabella catches with his body, and that's you're gonna have a lot of drop balls. It's gonna bounce off your chest, and if you watch this guy, he catches with his hands very well. His tape shows that too. Uh, so my number 5 performer in the combine this year is Amare Barno. Are you kidding me? 6'5", 246 pounds. This guy runs a 4.36. This guy is basically Calvin Johnson, but on defensive line. Like, that's scary, dude. I don't and that 4.36 time was the fastest time ever for a defensive end in the combine. So incredible performance. 10-foot 11-inch broad jump. You're absolutely right. Broad jump is a very good metric to see how explosive people are, and he's long and explosive, and that's scary. Like, you apply that with some technical pass rushing moves along with some good bend, and he's going to be in the backfield almost every play because there's not an offensive lineman that can run a 4.3. You just don't see that. He'll probably go in a later round, past first, maybe a late second. probably down to fourth round, but I think he improved his draft stock the most out of a bunch of his peers, especially out of all the defensive ends, in my opinion. My number 4 is Breece Hall. So there weren't a lot of questions as far as game film, but they had questions about his long speed. And then he came out and said earlier this week, or was it last week? He said dogmatically that he is the best player at his position. And I think he came out here and he backed it up. I did not expect him to run in the 4.3s. I expected him to run as a high 4.4s, maybe a very low 4.5. He came out and ran a 4.39, which was sixth fastest. He had a 40-inch vertical at 217 pounds. The record was set by Chris Conley, who had a 45-inch vertical. This guy is probably a little bit thicker than Chris, and he's jumping 40 inches in the air. That's insane to me. 10-foot 6-inch broad jump that was good for fourth. This dude, if you just watch the tape, he's big, but he's fluid. He's got smooth cuts. He showed that at the combine, and he catches the ball well. He ran some really good routes. That kind of shocked me there. That was an element of his game that I really wasn't sure about. And here's my top three: Zion McCollum, this cornerback out of Sam Houston State. This guy is athletically, he's freaky. 6'2", 199 pounds. He's long, he's lean, he's smooth, he sinks his hips well. Look like that at the combine when they were doing their drills. This guy ran a 4.33. Didn't expect that out of him. He had a 39.5-inch vertical, which was good for second among corners. He had 11-foot broad jump, which was first. He had the best three-cone time, 6.48 seconds, and he had the best 20-yard shuttle time, 3.94 seconds. So someone who's long and just athletic as all get out, has some good short area quickness, and he can flip and turn, which is important for a corner to do, especially in today's NFL when you've got, Tyreek Hill and you've got uh, ballers all over the place. Um, my number
especially
two
when
is
you have especially when you have 10 or 9 guys posting sub 4.40s
yeah,
just
you're
in this
definitely
year's combine.
yeah, and you're 6'2", so whatever you're lacking behind Calvin Austin the third, you just stretch out your hand, you got him. My number 2 is Devontae Wyatt, DT out of Georgia. This guy 4.77, incredibly fast. For a guy who's 304 pounds, 29-inch vertical. The guy in front of him is going to be crazy, but just imagine someone who's 6'3", 304 pounds, and jumping 30 inches in the air. That's insane. And he jumped 9'3" on his broad jump, which was good for third at his position. That's freaky. And to think that Georgia had 2 of these guys on their
Yep.
team, like, if they didn't win the championship, that was probably gonna be the biggest bust for the NFL talent they had on that defense for years to come. But number 1 goes to Jordan Davis. That was probably one of the most impressive workouts I've ever seen. He's 6'6", 341 pounds. This dude ran a 4.78 40-yard dash. In my recent memory, the only person that has ever befuddled me like that at that weight was Dontari Poe, and his
Yep.
unofficial time was 4.86, and his official time was in the 4.9s. This guy ran 0.2 of a second faster. Dontari Poe is huge. This guy's the same size, bigger even, and he's second. Like, wow, 32 inches in the air. I think there's a picture on Twitter where he just looks like he's levitating in the air, and this guy's like, man, that's no way. Like, the dude's a floating hamburger. He's jumping so high. 10-foot 3-inch broad jump. How in the world are you that explosive? Like, this should be a testament to any normal human and couch quarterbacks that's sitting there thinking, "Oh, I can run. I ran a 4.6 in high school, or I can run the 4.7." No, you couldn't. If I was in the wilderness with any of these guys and there was a bear chasing us, I'd be the one to die. Every single one of them would outrun me by far. This is incredible. So, yeah, hats off to all the quarterbacks in the NFL. Good luck with these guys chasing after you because I don't foresee it going very well.
I agree. I had a few thoughts based off of your list. So first of all, you're talking about Jordan Davis. So I have the combine going on in the background at work, and there's some guys sitting there and they're talking about who wants to watch linemen perform at the combine. And I told them the same thing I just said earlier in the show. I'm like, that's my favorite group to watch. And then they're acting like these guys they don't understand how times work apparently because you have
Yeah.
guys. Imagine 340 pounds coming at you running a 4.78. That's unheard of. I would hate to be a lineman going against that. This is outrageous. So he's
Yeah.
gonna be quick off the snap and 340 pounds barreling down on you, and no good
Gosh.
intentions.
No,
And
0 good intentions, yeah. No
then
thanks, man.
you talked about Sky Moore. How crazy of a draft or combine was this? Whenever he's getting honorable mention, he's running a 4.41, and honestly, at this point, like I'm like that sounds average compared to what we've
Yeah,
been seeing from guys.
right?
They made a note at the combine that said, I don't know if it's Rich Eisen or Daniel Jeremiah, but one of them said, "I feel bad for anyone who decided not to run at the combine because this is a fast track." And I was thinking the same. I'm like, everyone seems to be posting ridiculous numbers, much faster than expected. It was honestly so fun to watch these guys just put on an absolute clinic in Indianapolis this last weekend.
Yeah, if I'm the NFL, I'm drug testing all of them, especially those Georgia players, because this is crazy. The NFL has turned into this one of the most hyper athletic leagues I've ever seen in my life.
I can't wait to see how these guys perform, and I'm hoping to go defense. Everyone loves offense, but this is a defensive draft. I am taking defensive players all throughout the first round. This is going to be a great group of guys coming out.
Yeah, I mean, players like Sauce Gardner, he ran a 4.41, I believe. That dude's a stud, and you got corners out here like Zion McCollum, who's not very heralded, but puts on a show athletically, is on par with Sauce if he's not better. Like, that's crazy to me. This is such a D class.
We're talking about on the field workouts, but they had interviews too. I loved Sauce Gardner, so they're asking him. They're like, "Hey, you didn't give up a single touchdown throughout your entire college career. How are you going to handle giving up your first touchdown in the NFL?" And he says, "I don't
Oh.
have any plans of giving up a touchdown in the
Yeah,
NFL." And
love
he's
it.
phenomenal. Like I'm super excited. I think I saw a report saying that obviously you look at this guy. He was the number one corner in the class, hands down. When you give up zero touchdowns in your career, that's going to be the case. He comes out and runs a 4.41, which gets lost in the thick of things when you have two guys posting top 5 all-time 40s at your
Yeah.
position, but runs a 4.41. He checked all the boxes. That's what was great about this combine is like almost every star player going into the combine, you show up, a lot of them don't want to perform because like I can only hurt my stock. But these guys showed up, they performed, they checked every single box. They have solidified themselves among the league's the best players coming into the league this year. I cannot wait until the end of April to get to watch this draft, see who goes where. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. Hey, if you like what you've seen today and some of the content we posted in the past 2 weeks, comment your thoughts and opinions below. Some topics you'd like to see discussed or debated on this show, we'd love to talk about that. And hit the like and subscribe buttons. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can follow Dueker Sports on Twitter and on Facebook. We post comment or content weekly, and we hope to get your engagement. This has been another episode of Dueker Sports.